3 weeks into session, and we're beginning to see how things may, just may, play out with justice reform in the first year of the trifecta for the Dems in Richmond. I'm David Smith with Inthrive, Advocacy Solutions, and welcome back to our weekly wrap-up of all the justice reform action in Virginia's General Assembly. With over 70 justice-related bills making their way through Virginia's legislature, notoriously short sessions, even though this is a long year, we're beginning to see bills die, disappear, and even move on to the other chamber. But first, you know how last week I challenged y'all to tell me about a time some people were carved out of a good bill and advocates and legislators went back in a later year to include them? That is, get rid of the carve-out. You know how many examples I got? 0. Yes, that's why carve-outs are bad. Until advocates stop capitulating and leaving people behind, we won't really have justice reform for everybody, just for some. And as long as we say something is all right just for some, we leave the door open for that bad thing to be all right for everybody. But I digress. Let's get into the bills. First, 35 of the bills I'm tracking, so just less than half, haven't had their first hearing yet. Now, I expect a good amount of these to get a hearing this week. But this is also how the party in control can kill a bill without casting a vote. Some of these bills that haven't been docketed yet create new felonies. Are these new felonies bad? Well, yes. Do we really need another felony code section? No. You can already charge people under existing code for most everything these bills bring up. But do you want to go on record as voting against a bill that opponents can make you seem soft on crime, even though we all know it's more nuanced than that? No. This is where House and Senate leadership comes in. If there's a bill they don't like, but they don't want to kill it by voting against it, they simply just don't docket it. So, do I expect these bills to get a hearing? Unlikely. In fact, only 2 bills I'm tracking have officially died. One is SB 222. This is a common sense youthful offender bill that makes anyone eligible for parole if they were sentenced when they were between 18 and 20 years old and have served 20 years. So basically, they would have already spent half their life incarcerated. Instead of a yes, which I thought this one should just slide on through smoothly, it was continued to 2027, but with a letter to the Commission on Youth to study the issue. Now, what does this mean? It means the bill is dead because enough committee members aren't comfortable with where the policy is today, but it's still got a little bit of life in it. You see, they want to learn more about it. Letters for study can be a good thing if there's a strong study that comes back with specific policy suggestions. Now, it's very easy for these things to just slip away, for people to completely forget about them. So you need your patron to stay on top of this, and you need your advocates engaged to make sure this process works. For this bill, you have Senator Michael Jones from Richmond, who, even though it's his first year in the Senate, he is a very seasoned legislator who understands politics, and he's working with Nicole Deo, who was the powerhouse behind bending bars. So I think there's a better than average chance this bill may come back next year. All right, another way to kill a bill is what happened to SB 307. You see, I wasn't a fan of this bill because it would have been one of those laws that prosecutors would use to stack charges against someone. While it passed the Courts of Justice Committee unanimously, yes, every single vote, Republican and Democrat said yes, it was PBI, passed by indefinitely in Senate Finance and Appropriations. This means it's dead. They're not coming back to it. They're passing it by not just today, but forever. See, you kill bills in these money committees by saying, you know, I like what you're doing, I like the policy, but we just don't have the money for it. It allows legislators to vote yes on a bill in committee, but then not actually have to make it law. We experienced this so many times in the early years of our solitary confinement fight here in Virginia, where we would get the yay out of a committee, but then it would die in finance and appropriations. Okay, so let's move on to what's moving forward. A whole bunch of bills have passed, at least the subs, some all the way out of the House unanimously. See, they're all ticking by my pretty face right now. Now, some of these are no-brainers, like HB 191 that protects minors who are victims of sex trafficking from being prosecuted for prostitution. I mean, let's be real. That's a good way to break these cycles. Or HB 223 that allows localities to fund public defender offices. One that I'm really excited about is HB 16. This allows community service to count towards fines while you're incarcerated. Basically, whatever the prevailing wage community service earns towards your fine if you were free is credited to your balance minus what amount you were being paid. And since we pay incarcerated folks so little, this will go a long way to pay off fines before folks are released and remove one more obstacle for a successful reentry. Okay, now, does the fact that these pass unanimously mean all these bills will easily pass the other chamber? Most of them, yes, they should. But all it takes is one committee member to raise some questions, and that sure thing bill ends up being gently laid on the table, which is the nicest way you can say to killing the bill. All right, but when will these bills actually be taken up? Crossover isn't until February 17th this year. That is about 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away. Wait, what's crossover, you ask? See, I have no idea how much y'all know about Virginia politics, so we're going to go into a little bit of an explanation here. Crossover is the last day a bill can be passed out of the House or Senate in order to cross over to the other chamber and be voted on by the end of session. 2026 is a long session because even years are budget years. Virginia does a budget every 2 years, so we have a 2-year budget in the state. Legislators have about a month to deal with bills from the other chamber and come to agreement on any amendments while also figuring out our budget. So this year, on our long session, we're scheduled to end on March 14th. Yes, March 14th, so just about 2 months after we started. That's a very short schedule. But you know what else is also on our schedule for next week? Another one of these updates. Yep. If you want to know more about justice issues in Virginia, be sure to come back next week. Check out some of the other videos on this channel. And be sure to sign up for my weekly Justice News wrap-up that has all the justice news in Virginia and some from around the country. The link is in the description of this video. It's free and in your inbox every Sunday morning. And I can't wait to see you all next week and tell you what happened at the General Assembly.